What's up, guys? It's Nick and Kyle from the Tales, Ales, and Trails podcast. We got a brand new episode for you guys. We got to sit down with the boys from Ramble Brewing. Exciting conversation we got to have with them. They're such awesome guys.
Yeah.
And I know we teased like a little bit during their wet hop weekend, but we actually this time got to sit down for a longer form interview.
Yeah, definitely.
And got to pull some strands out of their minds about the formation of the brewery and everything.
Yeah, no, real chance to sit down for a deeper discussion about the journey that Ramble West has been on over the last 2 years, and even before that. It's taken a lot of work, to get that brewery to where it is today. Ryan, Eley, Ryan and Jim, super great guys. Fantastic discussion. We hope you guys enjoy it. It coincides with the start of their second anniversary celebration.
Exciting.
Really exciting stuff. It's going to be happening today, the day that this podcast drops, happening today through Sunday. Tons of stuff going on. There's going to be charity bingo happening on Wednesday.
They're releasing a beer on Thursday.
Beer release on Thursday.
Yeah, hoppy lager.
All kinds of fun stuff happening to celebrate 2 years of being open as Ramble West. So, without further ado, please enjoy this discussion. It's a really fun one. You can tell these guys love what they do, and we love talking to them. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
Well, guys, thanks so much for having us. Really appreciate getting the opportunity to sit down with you guys. I know we're on the eve of the second anniversary celebration. Probably really busy time for you guys. How are things going? How you doing? Yeah.
It's been great. Back in football season helps. It also helps not being 100 degrees, and we're starting to be in some fall weather. But yeah, we've came out with the Fresh Caesar Wet Hot beer a couple weeks ago, and it's been some good weeks after that. We've got a bunch of live music. It's been pretty packed in here. It's been great.
Yeah, all that, when the temperature comes down, people kind of remember that our tap room also comes down with it, and it's kind of after that back to school, back to routine post summer, where it's like, oh, all right, things have calmed down. Let's go grab a beer, like you said, catch a game or something. And so, yeah, this is definitely a fun time of year. And with the anniversary party coming up, there's definitely planning and scheming and all those things.
All those good things.
Football season's got to be great.
Yeah.
Especially when like you said, the weather changes. I'm looking for a hole to crawl in, watch the game. Hey, dude, and coming 2 doors down, it might be here. But
and to be fair, you guys have done a ton since you guys opened up to
100%.
combat the climate and all that. And then, there's only so much you can do when it's 105 most of the summer. But there's been some big changes since the first time we stepped in here in the summer and now.
Oh, man,
I do want to point that out.
For sure, yeah. I think we still someday we kind of talk about potentially walling off, cutting the building in half and putting windows up so you could see the brew house and all that still, but it would essentially cut this room in half as far as what we can condition. But for now, with the swamp coolers this summer, when it was 100 and whatever, I would say it stayed about 90 or so in here, and we have fans everywhere, and so it just moves it. It's better than last summer without it, where we're 103 when it's 103 outside.
Yeah. I would say 90 when it's 110 feels like heaven.
Yeah.
I still remember that first year. We had a group come in on a weekend, and they took like 2 steps in the door, and they asked if we had air conditioning. We said no, and they just walked straight out.
We'll come back.
We'd come in like the week you guys opened, and we had a beer.
I think it might have been the soft opening.
Yeah.
You guys
It
were
was
like
the soft
kind of sort of
opening.
open,
Yeah,
but still kind of figuring the stuff out.
We had a beer over here, and we were like, we'll finish the beer.
It's a really good beer, but it's hot, man. But, kind of the way I kind of wanted to get into things with you guys, and tons of questions about the brewery and the journey you guys have been on over the last couple of years. But I think we kind of have to start with you two and talking a little bit about your background, where you're from, how the two of you got connected, and kind of go from there. So can you guys tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Yeah, I think, how many years ago did we meet? 20-something years ago.
It's been a while.
Yeah, my wife worked with Jim's wife, and we quickly became friends. And at the time I was in college brewing a lot with my roommate, and I had about a year or two left in college and decided I kind of wanted to try to get my foot in the door in the industry and see what I could do. And Jim was about to move up to Colorado, and he was gung-ho on like, let's start a brewery. And I was like, this is super fun, but I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, then we kind of went in separate directions. They lived out there, and my wife and I moved down to Southern California because she went to school down there. And so we just packed everything up and moved down there. And yeah, I got my foot in the door at a brewery and kind of started from there. Worked at brewery to brewery to brewery, brewing school, all that. And then 20 years later, moved back here, and this guy's like, hey, let's start a brewery. In a nutshell, I guess.
Yeah, over probably too many beers. And I think it was always just, I think I always had that optimism of like, we can do it, man. You make it. My background was sales. We can figure this out. And but it was in my mind always something we laughed about. Just because, like you said, it was always like we were kind of passing up and down or across the state where he was here and I wasn't, or I was here now but he was gone. And so I think when you and Danielle moved back from Petaluma, it was like, it's either now or never.
Yeah, stars aligned a little bit. Yeah. Ryan, I want to ask you, and we might have talked about this when we did that live podcast back at the Fresh Seas Wet Hop weekend, but I want to ask you kind of about maybe your inspirations, what got you into the idea of brewing beer, and kind of where that background started.
Gosh, well, it did start from a family member, Jim, who was my wife's boss back in college, and we went over to their house for a Christmas party, and he had randomly asked me if I wanted to make beer with him, and I didn't know you could make beer at home. And so we made a clone of Celebration Ale, and who knows how it was, but back then it was the greatest beer of all time, and it was enough for me to go get all my stuff and buy all the books and start brewing like crazy. And that's how it started. And I was always like the biggest cheerleader of Sierra Nevada. And so those styles are kind of what I grew up on. I was always a big, pale ale, West Coast IPA fan, Torpedo, huge. And I feel like everywhere I worked at kind of had similar thoughts and like what they kind of zoned in on. And so I feel like it's kind of worn on me over the years, and we're pretty heavy on pale ales and IPAs. But yeah, I'd say someday when we get a pilot system or something I can play around and make smaller volumes, I want to get crazy and do a lot of different, styles that are kind of tough for us to make 25 kegs of now. Sure. That's the goal someday.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I love that. Also, pretty great place to be if you're making pale ales and, hoppier beers. This is a great community for that. And I wanted to talk about, and you guys mentioned it a little bit there about the idea to start this brewery. And I wanted to ask you about, I guess the process and the progression of that, right? Because it's one thing to say, hey, we should totally start a brewery. It's a totally another thing to start taking the steps to make that a reality. Can you take us through, kind of where you guys got off the ground with Ramble West?
Yeah, I'd say over the years, everywhere my wife and I lived through school and whatever, we always had like on the mirror the dry eraser of like where we would want to start a brewery, and Chico is always one of those. If we ever came back, and I'd say my last year or two of not living in Chico, it became a reality to where we were starting to kind of put a parts list together. Worked at all these different size breweries, but if we were ever to do it, what size would make sense for Chico and what we're trying to achieve in our community. And so once we kind of had an idea of how big it was going to be, potentially if we were to do it, then it became parts list, everything else, and it's just a huge volume when it's all done of everything that it takes to build something like this. But yeah, once we decided to finally pull the trigger and do this, it was exciting because coming back here, we knew so many people that it's kind of a tough thing to describe, but I've talked to other people that started breweries in the industry that they're just like, I just want to pay my investors back and be done.
Right.
I don't want to hear from them anymore. I just want them to have their money, get me off the ground, and leave me alone. I didn't want that to be that way here. And I know doing this in our backyard where we grew up, we had so many people we grew up with in Paradise and in Chico that hadn't left or left and came back. And this was so exciting for them that we wanted to try to put the bar really low for what our entry level was for investing. And we ended up taking on 28 investors, and just about every single one of our investors is like friends and family. And
That's awesome.
we ended up designing it to where, for a portion until you make your money back, investors make more than the managers do at the end of the year. But once everybody's paid back and has their money back, everybody's a 50-50 profit share for the life of the company.
Right.
And so I don't know where that idea came out of, but I always liked the idea of making, in a small town, this community brewery where everybody has incentive to bring their friends and their family in, so that we can all kind of share in the profits hopefully someday.
Yeah, doing your part, everyone doing their own part to kind of make this place thrive.
Yeah.
A really community-built, 100% community-built brewery. That's awesome.
I hope that answered the question. I feel like
I think it definitely did.
Can you guys tell us more about your roles in the company specifically? Sure.
He makes it, I sell it. We both drink it. It's really good. It's a great,
I do want to touch on just that fact because I've seen Jim outside of this place. I don't even know. I think I told you about this at the weekend, Fresh Seas weekend, but we were at King's Liquor right down the road, and right down the road, it's Crosstown.
Yeah.
But you were dropping something off there, and I recognized you from here, and I just chirped at you a little bit. I was like, hey, I love your stuff. I was like, Lodia, I love a good Mexican lager. You guys, I'm a big Valle fan from Farmers, and I was like, you guys give Valle a run for the money. And you were so excited. You were like, dude, thank you. I was like, yeah, man, I just gotta give you credit.
Man, I mean, that anytime hearing that, even now, it's just, there's nothing better than to be like, hey, I love drinking this beer, but I had yours, and it's right there. That's just like, all right, we're doing it. Yeah. I don't know when you ever arrive, but hopefully we're headed in that direction. And when someone like you says that, it's like, God, thank you so much.
Oh, just makes your day. And it's fun to hear that from somebody out in the wild when it's actually someone talking about a specific beer or something like that. It's like good feedback and not the typical. They normally see you carting a keg and they're like, my truck's over here. And like, yeah. Never heard that before.
That being said, if you ever want to slap a keg 2 doors down, I'm never opposed.
The kegerator.
Like, we'll buy one.
You could probably make that happen.
We'll buy one. Yeah, no. But yeah, I had a Lodia probably a month before for the first time, and I was so impressed by it. I was like, I had told this guy, because this is my drinking partner. I was like, dude, Valle's got something to prove now.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, it's good. It's really good. I like both of them. They're excellent Mexican lagers.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
Yeah. So we're coming up on 2 years, obviously, which, doing a little bit of backwards math, that means the brewery officially opened back in 2023. But I know there was a long process to get to that date. Can you guys talk about some of the challenges that you faced along the way to kind of see this thing to fruition?
Oh my gosh, the timeline. I know it's a real
open-ended question, because I'm sure everyone we've talked to about opening brewery says, how much time do you have? I mean, there's no shortage of challenges that you face.
Yeah, it was, I think we started seriously looking for buildings or landlords in 2018. We had lots and lots of options that did not work out for X, Y, and Z reasons, but we finally got locked in on one and got pretty far with that, and kind of got taken out from under us. And then that next week, the campfire hit.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so then Yeah, everything was just a blur after that because we were still in the market trying to find, 5,000 plus square foot warehouse. And there were so many other people trying to find that same thing that were, roofing companies and places that are just lost everything that are trying to move in tomorrow, and we were trying to do something that was much more down the road. So I think because of that, we probably lost another year or so until we finally met our now landlord, Jesse Grigg, who's involved with the Commons and that. But yeah, I think he was probably the only potential landlord out of all of them we talked to that kind of got the vision, and most of them kind of laughed when we were like, no, we want to sign like a long-term lease and we can't really start paying right now because we might not be open for another year. But he totally understood. Yeah. And
To be fair, that does sound wild. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And so, especially because he ended up getting this building with us as a built-in tenant, so he was kind of rolling the dice on us as well. Sure. But yeah, I don't think he'd ever had a beer that I made, and so just he was able to put his trust in us, and I think we signed a lease in 2019. But yeah, I think it took us a year plus with the city doing the paperwork, engineering, architect, all that stuff. Got our building permit, and then it took us about a year to build it because this used to be a Baker distributor. They're on the other side of town now, but it was a HVAC distribution center. So pretty much the whole place was bare walls, a lot of rotten OSB, and it was a gut job. But yeah, we took, what was it? How many yards 70 yards of concrete out of here. And I think we took 30 yards of soil from the production area side because we had to slope it and reinforce it. Jesus. But yeah, then we framed everything, new electrical, new sewer, just basically everything. So that's why it took a year, and it was about 3 or 4 of us doing it. So, right. But yeah, that was one of the fun things is that we have just good local friends that are now general contractors or whatnot, and so we're able to do a bunch of it with our friends and family.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking about that with that local connection. I'm sure it was a situation where you knew these people, you never knew that you were going to need them in this way, right? You had to probably reach out to so many different people throughout the process of making this happen. I always think about, how gosh, how do I want to say this? How interesting it is to find these connections when you never knew you were going to need them. Like someone you knew in college for like a couple of semesters, and they end up being, in my line of work, someone that I would send a press release to in on a regular day. Like it's interesting how you make these connections early on, and then you end up utilizing them, especially in a small town like this, or a community-focused town like this. Yeah.
Our general contractor on this job is a lifelong friend of mine, and he spent his whole life building houses. He had never done a commercial job like this. But we started this, and it was during COVID, we were building it, and everybody's doing projects at home now, and so you can't find a contractor to do anything. But he was able to pull all of his subs that are used to residential jobs, and so this is like a different animal for them. But I've used all those guys for my own personal stuff after that, because making those connections, it's like, hey, now I know a drywall guy. But yeah, it's a good way to meet a lot of them.
Did you guys ever have like any doubts about this specific location? I just know specifically because I used to work at Riley's right around the corner for years. And I was thinking, they're opening up a brewery over here. I was like, do they need bouncers? This is a college area. Yeah. Like, is it? And you guys have totally met expectations beyond that now because you guys are thriving. But I was a little unsure at first. I was like, I'm not totally sold they're going to get like the traffic they necessarily want, maybe. But
people are always like, when they see our location, like, well, it must get a lot of college traffic. And it is just like, could not be further from the truth.
You're like, we hope.
Of the people we get, they might make up like 1% of, on a college graduation weekend, maybe, which is fine. But yeah, I just remember coming into this place, seeing all the work that it was going to take, and then kind of zooming out and being like, well, where are we? Right. We're kind of on the edge of, I don't know, the tracks, basically. Yeah. And you're like, I don't know.
Train just went by.
Well, yeah. And it's definitely like, it's tricky nowadays getting the word out. Stephanie's here. She does our social media, and like she does an amazing job, but it's like, it's tough to reach people even in your own backyard. And I can't tell you how many times we see people right out here that are like staring at the side of the building, and they live right around the corner. They're like, when did you guys move in? But for the first couple of times we did canning runs, we'd get a train like this, and we'd have the Highway 32 would be backed up, and we'd go run out there with like fresh cans, and we'd just hand them out to people in their cars.
Sitting in traffic.
It's like, there's a brewery here.
I literally I've gone to Riley's before, and I'm like, yeah, we're like, I did the Fresh Teas weekend, talking about the podcast over here at Ramble West, and they're like, is that a bar? They're like, I'm like, no, it's a brewery, and they're like, no way, I got to go check that out. It's right around the corner. I'm like, yeah, go.
I think we've probably promoted Miller Glass more than anybody, just because we're like, you know where Miller Glass is? Perfect. Yeah, we're right there. You know,
Flat Electric. Yeah.
That's how I said where I work. I'm like across the street from Miller Glass.
Yeah.
All the electricians and window people know where we're at.
That's it.
Here you go.
That's not a bad thing either.
So you guys opened, soft open, I want to say shortly after the 4th of July in 2023 or later summer?
Yeah.
July 1st.
July
Yeah,
1st,
it was
that's
right before 4th of July.
That's right.
They wanted to open before that weekend.
Yeah. So you open, it's hot, and you end up having the official opening, I believe, in September, late September.
Cool. What was the date? 29th?
Late September, yeah, that year. Yeah, July 1st was Ryan's birthday. It still is every year.
It still is. I still go by that. Haven't changed it.
But I just remember, it was probably you just screaming down to the city because they had called us, of course, like at the 11th hour. Hey, your occupancy permit's ready.
Yeah.
Be here before 5. And we're like, got there just in time. And aside from some friends and family, nobody knew we were opening. We were just so pumped. And we had kind of moved heaven and earth. We asked a friend hey, can we borrow an 8-tap kegerator? We didn't have taps or anything.
Yeah.
Yep, we'll wheel that in. It probably cooled the beer to like 50 or something because it was so hot in here. But we were just so excited to like have the doors open and have some music. And at that point, you could only pour samples.
Right.
So people,
Yeah.
Or well, no, sorry. Then you could pour pints. Before that, it was samples. But yeah. So yeah, we were just so excited to be pouring beer, and like we did it.
I mean, after all that
good.
work, it was real good.
Great beer.
But after all that work, it had to be like such a we got here kind of moment, like a gratifying feeling, like we're actually pouring beers at this place and people are drinking them. Like that's got to be a cool feeling.
Yeah, I thought it was amazing.
It was
I mean,
amazing.
especially from, like I said, like with friends and family, making up our investors. It's like, I don't know how many of those people had ever had a beer that I made that wasn't a commercial beer somewhere. It's like not something like I have made.
Yeah.
And all the beers we've made were all ones that I've made for the first time ever. And so there's that weird part of it too. That's like, dang, like we're sharing this with like friends and family for the first time, and I hope it's good.
Ryan is like, he definitely like kind of calms me at times, and that was a moment when we were opening and when he was making his first batches, because I was like, probably have to dump a couple, right? He's like, why would we do that? Why? And I'm like, you made this before? No. Be good. I'm like, okay, let's do it. And it was good right out of the gate, which is just like mind blowing to me. And for the most part, it always is.
We're talking about like all these points where you're like, wow, it's working. It's really clicking. Was there a specific time, maybe after you guys had opened, where you all the doubts kind of flooded away and you guys are like, wow, we actually have something like credible and we're going to run with it?
I'm shaking my head.
It's still, no, it's a tough industry to be in right now.
Yeah.
I would say the one silver lining in that regard for me is just like watching our team and how they operate on a week-to-week basis, you know, because it's not like with Jim doing his job and with me doing my job, we're able to do that 6-7 days a week. And then to watch our team come in on those days and just full on run events, do the live music, do the food and all the things. And for that side of it to do a great job in like running itself and then us be able to focus on the other side of it, that's a huge relief for me, because I feel like at first it was just super overwhelming, like hoping that people come in, but then if it's a lot, we're behind the bar. I also need to like be back there trying to get the brew ready for tomorrow, and someone has to go deliver this stuff. And it's like, so now to kind of like take a step back and people are focusing in their areas, that part of it is like a glimpse of like what we hope it can be, you know, in the future.
You kind of have a rhythm now of things.
A rhythm, yeah. But I would say schedule-wise, we're just not consistent ever. But yeah, rhythm would be a good way to say it.
It just helps to have the right people in those roles, people 100%. That you can trust to, you know, run the day-to-day of this side of things. I like you said, that it has to be a huge help to know that you have some really hard-working individuals that are filling out this team.
Absolutely. It's huge. And I feel like each one of them, their role and the hours they work and what they do, it just like fits their schedule for their life. Right. And it's like a fun thing to go to, you know, and it's like see the people that you normally see on your days. And no, I think that's pretty cool.
It feels really good to plug and play some employees that where you can just be like, I'm going to plug you here, and you know that's going to get done immediately, and it's going to work itself out.
People you can rely on.
Yeah.
Peace of mind is huge, and just it allows, I think, me and Ryan to focus on our skills and what we're good at, you know, because there were days where Ryan would get here at 4 or 5 in the morning, brew a batch, take the brew head off, start slinging beer behind the bar till 9 or 10 at night. And same with me. I'd be like delivering, making sales calls, doing the business aspect, and then be like, all right, yep, we're open. Let me pour a beer now till whenever people leave, which was incredible. And of course we loved it, but to have people step in and kind of take that off of us it's huge. I can't be more grateful.
The rush always feels good until you go home and you start to rest a little bit and you go, ooh, I worked a really long day today.
I want to take a moment to talk about the beer itself. I feel like we'd be, you know, remiss if we didn't talk about that. And we talked a little bit about it when we were talking about your background and kind of your inspirations from the different breweries that you had worked at. But I guess my question is, if you were going to tell someone who hadn't been to Ramble before what the beer here was like, what would you tell them?
Great question. I would say West Coast is something we always tend to fall back on. I tend to use a lot of thiolized yeast strains, which give it a lot more profile than just your typical dry yeast, I would say. But on top of that, I do still dabble with, I would say, more than normal specialty malts. I've dialed it way back than when we first started. But yeah, I still use like a touch of crystal and like a little bit of biscuit in our pail, and I love maris otter and stuff. But no, I think I would just say a lot of the beer, and that I totally love these beers that are out there, but I would say a lot of them are like a Pilsner malt base and a lot of exotic hops in the end, maybe some flaked stuff. But I still love to play with the Viennas and the maris otter and the crystal and the Munich, and I don't know that. And then I just always love coming back to Simcoe is probably my favorite hop, so that finds its way into some of our beers. But no, I don't know. I'd say I use a lot of traditional old C hops that people don't like to use anymore, mostly on the hot side. And with our IPA, that actually has Cascade and CTZ in it, which I think are underutilized hops, but over the top Simcoe in it to save it. But no, I'd say that's it. Like someday if I get a smaller brew house and we can do like in-house stuff, I would love that opportunity to start making like stuff that's not in our normal profile. But yeah, I'd say I've had that opportunity a few times. We did
with the 2-barrel stuff.
we did a hef one time. It's called Good Chit, with a lot of chitted malt in there. Yeah, it'd be fun to start doing that. We have a 2-barrel tank now, which is super fun. We just did a nitro porter in there. But unfortunately, I can only divert from the 15-barrel brew house in there.
Sure.
Throw different yeast, hops, or whatever I want in there to peel off. Yeah. But yeah, hopefully in the next year or two, we can get a smaller brew house and just start playing around with all kinds of stuff.
That's exciting.
Yeah, definitely.
That's exciting. That means a lot of one-offs for us to try.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
We want to hear about the stories. Story time. I want to hear about Poppy's. Poppy's is right here. Let's talk about the lantern and everything.
And then, I think there's a lot of your beers that have some fun stories to them. This goes back to when we first started coming here. I know the curves has a, not like a huge story to it, but it's fun.
It's fun.
But I do think Poppy's, we start there, right? Because there's such a cool story behind that.
Yeah, Poppy was the name of his name was Poppy, my uncle Poppy. And he's where that red poppy is on the wall. But yeah, that stands for him. And the label just has all things that were near and dear to him. We when I got into home brewing, he got into home brewing, and we just kind of kept it up for years and years. Every time I came back home, we'd fire up a brew, and I'd talk to his son, my cousin, about his progress when I was gone, and it was just always a topic of conversation. But when we moved back and decided we were starting the brewery, he was the first one to just write us a check for, didn't even know who to make it out to, but he's just like, yep, I'm in. And I remember he cried when I told him we were starting the brewery. It was like the most emotional thing. But yeah, we named our pale ale after him. And so we decided to put all the things. So he did like a tomato growing contest every year, and he played the accordion. His chickens were like his babies, and he's big on fishing. And but yeah, that is a tribute to him. What else? You touched on Kurz.
I just remember you guys telling us a fun story about thinking about what you're going to name this beer.
I can tell you too another story on Poppy's from the sales side that it was awesome. It was early in our infancy, and I was out pounding the streets trying to get our beer into any account that hadn't heard of us or would be willing to give us a shot, And so I was at this specific restaurant, and I had finally got an audience with the owner, and he was kind of like, yeah, I don't drink much craft beer, more of a domestic guy. I'm like, that's all right, And so we sipped a few, and he was really couldn't make a decision. But he, for some reason, wanted to put Poppy's on tap. He thought that would be good. And at that time, I was like, pale ale in this town? I don't know about that. But okay. And so I told him it was great, but he thought of himself as not the greatest judge. And so a gentleman throughout our conversation had sat down next to us at the bar, and he had ordered a pale ale. He's drinking this pale ale, and owner flags him down, says, hey, I see you're drinking a pale ale. Well, my friend here has a pale ale too that we're considering. Why don't you give us a taste test, and we'll see what happens. And so the guy was like, yeah, okay, older guy. Pour him a glass, and he sips it, goes back to the original gangster, sips ours, and kind of thinks for a second, and he points to ours and says, this tastes like what pale ale used to taste like 30 years ago. Wow. And I love it. Whoa. And I was just like floored, and I looked back at the guy and was kind of like, he's like, did you plan this? And I was like, I had never seen this guy, So that was awesome. Again, one of those personal testimonies that just comes up, and it means more than anything to you to have that in those moments anytime.
It is a spectacular beer. It's an amazing pale ale. Pale ales are sacred around here. Around these parts. So, something that gets included in the lineup it's special.
And I wanted to touch on some of the symbolism on the cans as well. The lantern, obviously. Mm-hmm. But can you tell us a little bit, and this is me knowing the brewery a little bit, but can you tell us a little bit about some of the symbolicness of your branding?
Yeah, we ended up Many stories, but we had to rebrand a couple times, and through the journey of paperwork and construction and rebranding and all that, my grandfather had two lanterns, but the one blue one ended up being our logo. But he ended up in Paradise and had given it to me when they were just kind of moving stuff out to go into assisted living, and it lived in my backyard for a bit. And things happen with Paradise and whatnot, and it's like it stayed in my backyard. We got this building, we were doing construction, we wanted to just get some stuff away from my house, and we had these lanterns hanging out here, and we're like, you know what? We should maybe include it in our branding. It's part of our story. And my grandpa had that in South Dakota when he was a kid on a farm, and had made his way all the way out to, the Ukiah area, and then up to Alaska and back down to California, and it stayed with him everywhere. And now it's that one right up behind the bar. That was pretty cool to make our logo out of that. And then the poppies obviously were for Poppy. If you can ever find them, there's a couple of little hidden gems in there, but there's a bumblebee and a ladybug, and those are my two kids. It's my kids' initials, and then the other one's just known as Bug, Ladybug. But I had them, they're in the Fresh Seas can too. And then that's where Brex came from, because their names match together, Bryn and Alex.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's the ladybug and the little bumblebee there.
Yeah, did not know that. That's cool.
I love that.
Yeah, we're gonna get some B-roll later after the interview, but you can see the bumblebee and the ladybug on the mural behind you. Yeah,
No, I love that.
That's really cool. We did our homework on that, and that kind of blew our minds. We're like, oh, I love little Easter eggs like that.
Well, just hearing about this being really a community family, backed brewery, and then to have this personal ties in everything that you guys are making. I mean, from the poppies to the symbolism of the cans themselves. I mean, it's pretty cool. It's showing that you guys are putting every ounce of yourselves into this brewery, which I think is awesome.
It definitely helps with this team that we've assembled. Like I was saying, like Marie, who does our labels, was the one that painted our mural, and a lot of that stuff too. It's like, what do you want me to do? And it's like, this would be cool, maybe this and that. But then she was the one that kind of brought out, stories of the poppy and the bumblebee and like all those things kind of came from her creative mind. And same thing with our labels. Her and Jim kind of get together and make the story behind those work, and I've had a lot of good help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, poppy doesn't hurt from California perspective.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about the second anniversary. It's coming up. This podcast is actually going to release on the first day of your celebration. Are you guys excited? Can you tell us a little bit about what might be going on? I don't want to put you on the spot and make you recite all the details, but it sounds like it's going to be a really fun weekend.
Yeah, just kind of a bigger version of maybe a normal week, obviously, with the anniversary on Saturday being the headliner, but trivia. We've got charity bingo that Thursday coming up. We'll do live music on Friday. We'll do multiple sets of live music Saturday, food all day. We will have beer outside, so that'll be fun. We did that earlier in the year where we fenced the sidewalk off and just ran our jockey box out there, and it was like a whole nother tap room outside. It was so fun. People just hung out, of course, everyone wants to hang out outside and drink a beer. So that is kind of the broad strokes of that week, but it's just, it always is mind-blowing and gives me a reason to hide behind a tank for a second and just see everybody. They don't know me, they don't know Ryan, they're just here for a good time, drink some beer, enjoy a fun experience with family, friends, and that was all we ever wanted to create, was a place that allowed people to do that, for me, that's what I look forward to when the anniversary pops up, is just a packed house and people just laughing, beer spilling, I need another one, it's very awesome.
I'm glad you said that because that's right where I wanted to go. I mean, the community support for a brewery like this has been huge for you guys. I mean, we saw it with the Fresh Seas Wet Hop Weekend. When we came in for charity bingo, it was like standing room only.
Really?
Not only for what you guys had going on, but for the cause that you were supporting. What has it meant to have the community behind you these first 2 years?
It's really special. I mean, we just had charity bingo this last Thursday, and I was talking to one of the guys in there, and they're thanking us like crazy. And it's just amazing to be in the situation where we could provide a platform for people just to scrape some money together from people that live in the neighborhood that want to pitch money towards, a school that needs stuff for supplies or whatever it is. And we have such a good community here that's always looking for reasons to donate for stuff like that. So it's just a great platform for it. But yeah, we do charity bingo once a month on Thursdays, and I don't know, we're booked out till next year, I think.
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
That's cool. Well, I mean, we're gonna make some of those dates for that weekend.
Yeah, for the celebrate 2-year anniversary for sure.
Yeah. Also, you guys plugged it on your social. Come in for Football Sunday. I heard it. I definitely will be here for that. It's awesome. Awesome hearing all the events and all the community response. Because you guys are. I feel like you guys are thriving in this. How does it feel?
I mean, there's like, for me anyway, I don't know you, but there's like small, quiet moments where you just take a sip of that, But I don't know honestly what that will look like. Have we made it? I don't know. Are we thriving? Like I said, there are a lot of days where I'm just like, can we just, what's the next hurdle that we have to get through and stuff like that. But if the outside perspective is us thriving, then I feel great about that. I don't think a day goes by where we don't text each other. You see that? Or you got that? Or what are we going to do here? And it's just...
It's constant, yeah.
Yeah. It feels like from inception, there was always like, if we could just get to here, we'll make it. And then you get to that, but then it's like, but right there, if we could just get there, that would really alleviate X, Y, and Z. And you get to that, and it's just like the next step and step and step. And in a good way, but still you're just, all right, how do we figure this out? And so it some days feels more like surviving than thriving.
Yeah. It's an overwhelming thing, big picture, but I'm the same way where I think my moments are on brew days at times of the year where I can actually get a later start because it's nice in here and have the brew going on while the tasting room's going on and like have the smells, have everything happening, and then hear the crowd in here. It's like, those are the times where I get like goosebumps. I'll like text my wife and be like, this is pretty cool. And I feel like we need to slow down and like look at those moments more often, but it's pretty overwhelming. We're hoping, might be a question down the road. We're hoping next year we're planning on doing a second tap room, and that's
That's cool. That's awesome.
We're hoping that opens up some new doors for us and new possibilities.
I'll tell you right now, when we have the bay doors open, I'll pull the boys over here. It might be a weekday or something. We're not really looking to have a few beers after work, and we smell it. We're like, oh, we could go to Ramble for a couple after work. Yeah.
Just text us.
Yeah.
We're here.
Always.
I wanted to maybe offer just a couple last questions here for you guys to kind of bookend this conversation. Again, thank you. This has been fantastic.
Awesome.
2 years. 2 years of hard work. Well, a lot more than 2 years of hard work. But what are you most proud of 2 years into Ramble West?
Again, it's like the small moments that you find, and I should have said it earlier, but when you're starting this, you have an idea of maybe like what it could look like 15 years from now, because you've been to 100 breweries and you're like, well, that's cool. I hope we can do that, or hope we can get to that point someday. But you know, in my mind, when we talked about opening a brewery and I started daydreaming, I was like, someday I want to like just be doing my work on my laptop in our tap room, like sipping a beer. And we've hit that, you know, and so those are like some of the small achievements. It's like, yeah, I'm sitting here having a beer, doing my laptop, stuff like that. But I lost the question.
Most proud of.
Most proud of. Yeah. Most proud of.
Yeah.
I feel very proud when I see people repping it. Again, don't know me, don't know my family, don't know anything. They got a Ramble hat on. Or maybe, you know, I had my brother-in-law text me. They were up in Mount Shasta, and some guy was walking down the street with a Ramble West can in his hand, and it was like,
cool.
man, okay. So, you know, those are some of the defining moments. The packed house, the packed houses, the community coming out. We would definitely not be here without all of their support all the time. You know, they want to sweat, they want to freeze, they're still coming out.
Track number 2.
They're still coming out to have a beer, and there are any number of places they could go to get something, and they chose to like make that sacrifice to come here. So I am forever grateful and feel blessed by the community at large for that. I'm sorry.
Kind of the same thing, but yeah, the absolute thing I'm most proud of is those events when we get the community together, whether it's, you know, it's just like a big celebration or if it's a fundraiser. That is just super special. I mean, after we did the one that was in February, I think, for the Smythe family, that was, my wife and I were like, the rest of the week were just like I mean, it was, I get chills to see the way that the community rallied around that family here was just unbelievable. And it's pretty special to be in this situation with something that we've built, to be able to put community members in that situation to try to have everybody come around for them. And that was just the most amazing part, hands down for me, for sure.
Awesome. Well, I mean, before we get to we're gonna give you a little segment to plug some upcoming releases and some events and stuff. What is your long-term vision for Ramble West?
We're at 2 years, and that's a huge accomplishment. What does Ramble West look like at 5 years? What does it look like at 10 years? Where do you see this brewery going?
Man. Big question. I think, as Ryan kind of alluded to, we are hopefully in the process of securing a second location here in Chico at this bike park that's getting built, which again is just a beyond blessing that we are so excited to hopefully take hold of and have the community kind of rally around that. But just hopefully with that, just be an even bigger like community beacon here in Chico. I feel like above all we want to make good beer. Sure, we'd like to make a little profit. Yes, we want, you know, these things. I feel like me and Ryan's headliner was always like, we just want to be able to support and give back to the community that we have spent decades and decades of our life in, you know. And so whether that's with this tap room or another one or wherever, we would love to be able to like kind of reel everything back in and just, we're Chico-centric, hyper-local brewery that is here for everyone else, you know.
I think it's funny when people ask that question, because they ask that question a lot, and they're usually like offering up an answer for us, like next year in Nevada. What? I mean, like, but,
Big shoes.
But no, it's exactly the opposite of that. I feel like if you grow with just trying to be the biggest thing ever, it's like quickly you're going to be hiring a lot more people, and you're probably not going to be doing what you want to do anymore. And we talked about this years and years ago. It's like, you want to be able to have a place that's about big enough to where minimal people can run it, because I love brewing beer. Like, I don't want to get to the point where I don't have to do it anymore because I'm paying somebody else to do it. I still want to do it. But I'd like to make money doing it. So it's like finding that sweet spot of like, can I still afford to do this and be a good community member and like be able to host all these things and pay myself someday to do it. So yeah, it's just walking that fine line. But I'd say if we can get to that point in those next couple of years to where maybe get a little bit of help to where we can start adding tasting room only board beers with a pilot system and more events, bigger music venue, things like that. But yeah, I'd say we'd still want to do our same jobs.
That second place will help you get there. I feel like you really want to go to that creative side. Get you some more room. Get you some more tanks. Let's get Ryan on the creative side.
Yeah, because truthfully, that's a tricky thing with being such a small brewery with this size is you kind of have to have your core brands so that you can be in distribution because we can't afford to not be in distribution. Right. But we also can't just make whatever we want and just assume we can walk into every door and just sell whatever we make all the time. So you kind of have to make these certain beers, and so what you can make on top of that is a little bit limited because it definitely adds up with the size that we have. So but that's getting back to the original question. I'd say once we get to that point where hopefully we're pouring a lot more beer through the 2 tasting rooms ourselves, we can kind of shrink that distribution footprint to where we're pouring more of the beer ourselves, and that allows us to go through it quicker and make more of it and more different things. So.
More freedom on that aspect. Great.
Yeah. Plus that. Well, guys, before we let you go, is there anything else you wanted to add? Obviously, you got the big 2-year anniversary coming up, but anything else you wanted to add about the brewery?
Upcoming events, updates, anything?
I don't think we touched on, but we have a new beer release for the 2nd anniversary party. It's brewed with Kerr's yeast strain. It's American light lager yeast strain. But it actually has wet hops in the tank currently. Same family members, uncle grew these. There's lots of family members that grow hops. But yeah, we have those on wet hops right now. We're actually going to dry hop it with Simcoe, Mosaic, and Citra. So
Sweet.
Hoppy lager. Should be pretty tasty. It'll be a hoppy lager, like 5.5%.
Sweet.
But yeah, we'll debut that on Friday, 17th.
Adam.
Love it. Love it.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. This has been fantastic. Congratulations on 2 years. I mean, it's a huge milestone. We wish you guys nothing but continued success.
Thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Yeah.
It means a lot that you guys would look us up for one of your episodes, so we appreciate it, and the conversation's always great.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Cheers. Cool. Cheers.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cheers, boys. One.